All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm going to say good morning and good afternoon because we're spanning the coasts here today in this session. So thanks for joining us today. The EntreArchitect Community Annual Meeting is coming up actually tomorrow, November 1st through 3rd in Austin, Texas. We'll have to ask these guys, but I'm flying out early in the morning tomorrow to head to Austin. But today, I wanted to give you a chance to meet some of our partners that are helping to make this event a reality. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't be flying to Austin tomorrow. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you haven't heard about it before, I'm talking about the EntreArchitect Community Annual Meeting, and it's the business conference for entrepreneur architects. In fact, it is the first ever live conference that's dedicated just to you, just to small firm entrepreneur architects. I started this live stream series related to the conference all the way back in August so that I could introduce you to all of our speakers and preview all of their talks. And now, as I said, I'm bringing our partners into the mix, which has been a lot of fun. If you've missed any of these interviews over the past week or week and a half or so, go over to the EntreArchitect YouTube channel, and there's a playlist for everything EntreArchitect Community Annual Meeting. You can find all of these interviews with the speakers and our sponsors and partners. So check those out. They've been a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun getting to know the people that, as I said, really are making this possible for us to pull the whole conference off. So again, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. If we've never met before, my name is Jeff Eccles. I'm the Vice President of Community Engagement at EntreArchitect, the largest worldwide community of entrepreneur architects. And I'm also the host of Context and Clarity Live. Today, I am joined by Monte Chapin and Mark Arnold. Together, they lead North American business development and sales at Graphisoft, and they're based in Washington and Connecticut, respectively. So, Monte, first, apologies. I think I butchered your last name there as it was
Yeah,
rolling out of my mouth.
no, it's
But
okay.
Monte and Mark, thank you both for joining me today, and thanks for partnering with EntreArchitect, both on the conference and beyond. Maybe we'll talk about that as well. So, thanks to both of you for being here.
Thank you.
Happy to be
Appreciate
here.
it.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. And for those of you that haven't figured it out, you can see, I think that's a window behind Monty. It's still maybe dark where he is. And Mark, it's probably getting light, or it's probably light, although very overcast and rainy here in the middle of the country. But it's great to have you both here.
Another beautiful day in Connecticut.
Awesome. Is there anything but beautiful days in Connecticut?
Hard.
Well, now
Yeah.
that we have that established, we see Mark R. LePage. Welcome, Mark. Glad you're joining us today. Um, Mark is over on Facebook, which is a good reminder for me. If you are on Facebook right now and you're commenting, but your comment is not showing up on the screen like Mark's is, it's because you're in a private Facebook group and you have to give Facebook permission for your name, your likeness, and your comments to come out. So open up another browser window and type chat.restream.io/FB, like Facebook, into that browser window. A couple of clicks later, you'll give that permission, and it will everything will work just the way Mark is. And he's actually in transit right now to Austin. So I don't know if he's doing this from an airplane or an airport, but welcome, Mark. Glad you're with us. And anybody else out there on Facebook, if you're having any issues, chat.restream.io/FB, like Facebook. That's in the lower left-hand corner of the screen right now. Jessica, good morning from Los Angeles. Glad you're joining us. She's packing her suitcase, also leaving for Austin before too long. So Jessica and Mark, glad to have both of you with us. So Monty and Mark, you and I know, or both of you know probably better than I do, that relationships drive an awful lot of our business. They drive an awful lot of what we know, of what we do. So why don't we start out? Let's start building this relationship with our audience by just asking, who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it? Monty,
All
you want
right.
to start off?
Sure. So my name is Monte Chapin, just long A. You almost had it. I am Market Development Manager for Graphisoft North America. I have been involved with Graphisoft and ArchiCAD for nearly 30 years. Uniquely, I've been with Graphisoft almost 15 this coming year. But prior to that, I was a customer. and I for 15 years. Almost probably to that, and so I brought ArchiCAD in actually into a small firm, practice. I don't think we were ever more than maybe 5, maybe 6 at the highest point. But we brought ArchiCAD in all the way back in 1995, 1996's version 4.5. So I've always had the lens really kind of the customer, even though I'm an employee and we're out in the market like everyone else, kind of, trying to grow this business. But my lens has always been for the customer, small customers in particular, and why I think it's such a great solution.
That's a great testament for everybody that's headed to the conference tomorrow or starting tomorrow. Monty is one of you, right? He started out exactly where you are. So if you have questions related to that transition or that, Monty is a great resource for that. So thank you for joining us today, Monty, and for everything that we're able to do between Graphisoft and EntreArchitect.
It's a pleasure.
Mark, how about you?
Yeah, I'm Director of North American Sales for Graphisoft. I've been with the company for not as long as Monty, but I'd like to say that my passion is equal to where Monty is. I also am coming from the lens of the customer. I've worked in the industry for quite a long time and worked with architects in different capacities. And I love architecture. I love technology, and I love helping people. And based on, what our software is capable of doing, I think we're very well positioned to be able to help people. And that's what gets me up every single day. Also working with the wonderful team of that I've got, our direct sellers, our indirect people, and really helping push the profession forward with great technology. We're able to drive the profession forward, and I think that's what everybody in this profession wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the great things. Just one of the things that makes for a great partnership here, especially, is that, with the two of you and all of your teams, you're not a group of outsiders, right? You have been, continue to be, will continue to be embedded in the profession. And, we talk about this from time to time on Context and Clarity Live. Over the course of this year, we've covered a lot of tech, and I would say especially high tech topics. We've talked about metaverse and AI, and I mean we've really gone for it, right? And in terms of the high tech and some of those topics, I think especially when we get into AI and some of these things, start to concern some folks. What's this going to do to the profession, et cetera? And we do have to take a step back and go, okay, AI is out there a little bit, but it is a tool, right? So what are we using right now as tools? And as you said, Mark, what are the tools that help push the profession forward? And Graphisoft is certainly one of those. I know we've got a lot of users in the community, and so I think it's fantastic that that all of your team, collectively are part of this partnership. So thanks for that. As we think about anybody, and I know Mark, it's just dawned on me, Mark R. LePage, who's with us in spirit, and a couple of comments there, depending on where he is, maybe on an airplane. He made the commitment recently to start learning ArchiCAD and using BIM. So I think that's really impressive. I'm looking forward to watching his progress on that. So we've got people like Mark that are just getting into it, just getting into BIM, I guess, technically. We've got people who have been using Graphisoft or ArchiCAD probably for quite a while. We've got people that are using something else and looking for a different solution, maybe because they're dissatisfied or they see something and, they have their reasons. So if we look, just sort of globally at what you're doing at Graphisoft, how are you working with small firm entrepreneur architects?
Yeah, it's a complex question, right? Entrepreneur architects, as we know, are the chief, the cook, the bottle washer, the janitor.
Excellent points.
And, and so they've got a lot on their plates beyond business development and client satisfaction. And so I don't think that there's any dispute that BIM is the right move for firms. I think they all understand that being able, in its simplest form, being able to combine the 3D and the 2D makes an awful lot of sense instead of running parallel operations. But it's the time to be able to do it. And so where we think that we're able to help and to partner with Entre in a meaningful way is to, it does boil down to the people, and it does boil down to the relationships and culture. And, you know, our commitment is to provide this easiest path to migrate to BIM and not push boxes, but help people actually do this in a meaningful and real way to be able to produce the outcomes and the results that they're looking to drive for their businesses. And that's what our commitment is.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, look around our community and I hear what people are saying, where they are in their practices, and there are an awful lot of people that are in that transition zone, if we can call it that. You know, they're using some 2D program, whatever it is. But, you know, they've heard about BIM, you know, some version of it, some program, some platform out there for decades at this point, right? Um, and they're getting to that point where, you know, what's the benefit of it? I'm pretty sure I need to get there. How do I get there? Oh my gosh, it's really hard. I don't need another program to learn. You know, I've got deadlines. I'm working on these projects, like you said, chief cook and bottle washer, and all of those. The 17 hats of the entrepreneur are keeping them from working. I guess we would call this working on our business when we're transitioning from a 2D program to a BIM software. So I love the fact that you're focusing on that transition. I think that's super helpful and important for our community.
Yep.
Monty, when you think about, you know, you've made a couple of transitions, not only your transition to BIM, but your transition from the user side to the service side. In your experience, what's that like? I mean, it can't come without pain. I mean, we're not going to sugarcoat it and say that, but what's it like and what's the benefit of it?
Yeah, good. That's a very good question. When we made the transition, I came at this. I've been in the profession 40 years in some form or fashion, and I started out as a hand drafter. That was
Yep.
all the way back to high school. I was drafting on the board, right?
Yep.
And of course, at the time, you spent a lot of time in your career learning the look and the feel of the drawing, right? You're going to
Yep.
match that
Yeah.
in the
Good
firm,
point.
and that was the biggest pain point for us as a firm was. If we go to technology, if we go to, at the time, what we called virtual building simulation, not BIM, but virtual building simulation, or just AutoCAD, flatline, whatever that was, you know, are we going to lose the look of the office that we had built all these years? And that was the toughest transition. It was just from the hand drafting, pen and ink on Mylar, getting to the technology. But we investigated, and at the time we were actually kind of forced. And it's a long story I'll make short, but I was kind of heading out of the profession in the early 90s, and I went to flight school. And I was kind of like, this is where I think I want to go with my career. And I came back to the architect that I was working with. He says, I have one more project for you we need to do. And I'm like, okay, I'll do one more. And so we started drawing by hand, and we went to the engineer. And in that time that I was gone, I said, I need you to do the structural drawings again. He goes, okay, give me the file. And I says, well, we're drafting by hand. And he's like, no, we don't do that anymore. We've got to have your AutoCAD file. And that's when the stone kind of hit us upside the head. It was like, oh, we've got to make our transition, and we better think about it now. And so we kind of evaluated, and we were looking at our options in getting there. And of course, we were pretty much heading with everyone else to AutoCAD. But we were frustrated even then that we weren't getting what we wanted in the look and the feel, right? It wasn't happening for us. And just by chance, I had a neighbor in the office building, hand me an envelope, and he says, you ought to take a look at this. And it was a trifold, and I still have it to this day, of ArchiCAD. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. here's the model and here are the drawings, and they're connected, and it was game changing.
Yeah.
So much so that I didn't get into aviation, even though I have a commercial ticket. I just was enamored, and I went to the moon with it. And it was a big transition. It was tough. I was in Salt Lake City at the time. There were maybe two of us plus a reseller that were learning ArchiCAD, and we were a long ways away from each other. And I was learning it on my own, but I did it. I pushed through that envelope. And the beauty of it was, at the time we went to the Mac because that was the only option we had, and we were in ArchiCAD, and it just started to flow. You get into a flow with it. And the architect was really happy with the way things were looking. He was also enamored with it. He called it Magic Box at the time, and it was just clicking. It wasn't without a heck of a lot of pain and 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and losing something. And it was just like, what are we doing wrong here? But we pushed through that veil. And I don't think it was more than 6 months where we said, okay, we're going to pull the string and we're going to get there. And we did. We finally, through that first year, got there with it. And at the time, no support, really no help. It was a very small community of people. Today, 30 years down the road, now a community of people that we have built around this. More importantly, at Graphisoft, as Mark said, it's the people. And we have a group of professional services consultants that really come in and understand your business, help to implement, help with the learning. And had I had that back then, I think we would have been there in 30 days. I think if we had pushed through that veil with that kind of support. But that's the difference from then to today in transitioning to technology. Yeah, you're going to have challenges, and there are going to be times when you're like, this isn't going to happen. But it does happen. You push through it, you get there. And when you do, then you got a beautiful program that I think it day in and day out for, as Mark said it best, when you're rainmaker and you're also a production person and you're looking out ahead of your curve 6-9 months ahead of it, you got a program that's there to support you and support the growth in the business.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good points. That's an amazing story. And I have to ask, was that a subtle announcement that there's going to be a rebranding of ArchiCAD coming up to Magic Box or something like that?
Yeah, he was an old Swiss architect, and he never understood technology, but he could see what it had the potential to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'd be a fantastic name. You raise that one up on the flagpole, see how that
You
goes
might.
in-house. Yeah. Um, so as we're looking, forward, and there are about 150 entrepreneur architects will gather in Austin here starting tomorrow evening, I guess. Um, what when for those that are thinking about, right, they're in that transition zone that we've talked about, or whether it's transition from a 2D to a 3D, in a model base, or one software to another software. I'll ask both of you this: what's the best piece of advice that you have as they're considering? Okay, how do I make choices? How do I navigate this transition? And whether it is 30 days, which would be fantastic, or it's 3 months, or whatever the time takes. What's a great piece of advice for somebody that's in that or headed into that transition zone?
Well, I'll lead with this one. I'll start out and then I'll turn it over to Mark. I think my best piece of advice is keep it simple. If you keep it simple and be realistic about your goals and what you're going to try to achieve with it, but don't try to layer too much in. Don't try to bring too much into the equation. And I think that's still to this day why ArchiCAD in particular is such a great tool or solution for that, because ArchiCAD is very adept and even more so today at being an early design conceptual modeler, and then it's turning into the BIM and the documentation is following along, and you have all the rendering and the animation built into the box. There's a tendency for a lot of firms, especially when they are already embedded in architecture, to bring the baggage kind of forward with them. And what we see is that what's easy to do by human nature is to say, I'll fall back. I'll just fall back on what I know. and then you never really quite make the transition. You kind of just pile on complexity on top of it, and you try to build what's that game, the Jenga board, where you're pulling putting the blocks in and pulling them out and trying to make it all work, and it sort of always topples over, and people get frustrated. So what I say to people is, think about what you're trying to achieve, where your goals are, what the business needs to do. ArchiCAD is a great solution to just say, okay, I'm going to clean the slate, I'm going to simplify this, and I'm going to build my business from here. And then ArchiCAD will go along. It will scale. It's a tremendously scalable tool in terms of as you add people on, or as you add disciplines on, or whatever that may be, it scales into that capacity. When you add on the other technologies like BIM X, the BIM Cloud SaaS environment that support the team working and collaboration, that's the scalability and the ability for the program to help you do things that you probably had challenges or difficulty with before. And when you layer it on top of the other technology, the platform that you want to use, whether you're a Mac or PC person, I've always been a Mac person. It's served us very, very well in the business. But whether you do that, you've got that flexibility also. And so I think when you combine all that together, it's a beautiful platform to build the business from. Mark?
That's great advice.
Great. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to follow up on that. I would say, number one, start with the end in mind. Why are you doing this, and work backwards. I'd say once you've established why you're doing it, then commit to it. Well, I can't say nobody likes change. I actually like change. Some people do like change. Some people don't like change, but change is inevitable. We were just talking about drawing on Mylar, and here we are years later, and we're on the second evolution of BIM. So I would say, number one, start with the end in mind. Number two, commit, and then recognize that you're not on this voyage alone.
Yeah.
There are a lot of firms and folks that are in this exact same boat. And there's a community of people, a lot in this community, a lot in our community. And there's a heck of a lot of support, and there's a lot of learning resources that are at your fingertips. And when you put that all together, at the end of the day, your projects will be better. The outcomes will be better. You'll have happier clients, and you'll have a real competitive advantage beyond trying to battle or compete on price. You're turning out a better product. That's ultimately what BIM, and particularly I would say ArchiCAD BIM, offers, is the ability to turn out a better product, better quality of life, happier customers, happier employees, the whole shooting match.
Yeah. And speaking of employees, I mean, Monty, you brought up something that reminded me of something that, Mark, we were talking about before we went live. Was this? You had mentioned a firm here that's close to me, and we started talking about firms that are, here we are, almost 3 years from the beyond the start of COVID as we knew it back in March of 2020. So there are a lot of firms that have been born right since March of 2020. Some that have gone through great transitions. All have gone through great transitions. Some that are staying as a hybrid or remote situation. And then, of course, there are firms that were remote or hybrid before COVID. So nothing new to them, but the ability to work in teams. And Monty, you had mentioned the SaaS offering where teams could work together. But Mark, when you're thinking about those types of situations, like the firm in Indianapolis that you mentioned before we went live, it seems like the offerings that you have at Graphisoft are really just helping to amplify everybody's ability to figure this out and work in the way that they want to work.
Yeah, there's one of the words that's synonymous with Graphisoft, with ArchiCAD in particular, is flexibility. Whether that flexibility comes in the way we license the product, whether that flexibility comes in the way that you can access those floating licenses, whether that flexibility has to do with how you interact with your colleagues. I mean, we have firms, the one good thing I could say about the pandemic is it opened up the world.
Yeah.
You don't have to rely on firms and folks that are in Indianapolis. You can find someone in the Philippines that can still be a part of your team. And that's what I think, we bring is that flexibility in the software, in the services, and then the ability for teams to be able to connect to create beautiful buildings.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I mean, and that's the reality of the future. It's, I'm reminded that there are a lot of people that were, for good reason, resistant to change in March of 2020. And, oh, we can't do this. We don't have the whatever. But just about all of them figured it out. And those that didn't or resisted it, I do know of one off the top of my head that resisted it all the way to the end. Um, so there's the cautionary tale, but I love the fact that the toolkit that you're offering really helps us figure these things out as we go and continue to be competitive. And I think that's one of the advantages too, that a community like this with tools like yours, as you said, they have a unique ability to compete in ways that are different today than they were nearly 3 years ago. So
Yeah,
I love all
as
that.
Monty said, that scalability piece, and that's one of the great things that we hear is that 2 and 3 and 4 seat firms are able to compete with 25, 30 seat firms and do it well.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing too today with the technology is it even goes beyond just the office, your office and your staff or the people you're working with. The technology today actually reaches out and now with your cross disciplines, your consulting engineers, how they engage you and the project and the client's needs. The same with the contractor. What I think today is for me so exciting about the technology is it absolutely supports and elevates the standard of care and the ultimate package that you're delivering, not package of drawings, but the whole of that to the client or to the customer. And I think that's where we're really starting to push the boundaries with it. Just everyone involved, all stakeholders in the project.
Yeah. Yeah. I think anytime that we um, have the ability, and especially, when it comes um, with the assistance of tools and things like that, we're just adding more and more value to to the process, to the finish, the finished product and everything else. And we talk about this a lot. What's the value? Is the commoditization and things like that. There are ways to use what you are providing to our community to add value to what you're doing. So that's a really good lesson. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
As we look forward, and I know, again, Mark's already on his way. Jessica's packing her suitcase. I think I've got to leave the house at 5 a.m, which means probably 3 a.m. I'll be packing. um,
Been there.
there are a lot of people getting ready to travel to Austin right now. And one of the things that I love to think about in terms of an event like this is how can we be intentional? How can we be purposeful about going and getting what we want, getting what we need out of this conference? Maybe it's in relation to Graphisoft. What do I need to do? What's your advice to anybody that's headed that way to be intentional about going and getting what they need to out of an event like this? Could be about Graphisoft, could be just, big picture, 30,000-foot view.
Well, I would always say talk to your peers, obviously in the profession, and people who have made the transition. There's tremendous insight in their transition, their change, and how they drove change. Because I always used to have kind of a little theorem. 10% of the equation is the technology you choose. Choose the best technology to support what you're trying to achieve as a business, as a practice. 40% is the changes in the processes, because there's changes in processes, right? The workflows are different. There are some things you have to leave behind. And as you change the workflow and the processes, new things will come to you. new creativity and new imaginativity as a word. I mean, that's not a word, but it just, how do
It
we
is
use the
now.
technology? Where do we go with it? And so you got to be open to that 40% and all that change of just the processes. But the big thing is 50% of the equation is the change in the culture. It changes the culture of a firm. There's no getting around that. You're going to have people that may not be on board with it, frankly, in the firm, and they're going to push back. And if they hold the firm back, you have to make change there too. It sounds hard to say that, but you have to also let the culture of the firm where it's going to go as an organization to be purposeful and to head in the right place. And that cultural component, a lot of firms I think sometimes fail with, right? They're just like, well, we're going to get people in here and they don't know the software and we're just going to fill this in and go with it. And that doesn't work most of the time. So think it through in terms of all that, make the best decisions for where the business needs to go. And the other thing I would say, adding to that, to Graphisoft, is talk to us. We have a team of professional service consultants that also come out of the profession, that have been there, that understand it. And if you talk to them what you're trying to achieve, what your goals are, you're going to have a group of people that listen and, more importantly, care about your success. And so I would say continually talk to Graphisoft, talk to us. And if we don't have a person, or if we have a customer or somebody else that's been there that we know of, we'll connect the dots for you. That would be my advice, those two pieces.
I love it. Great advice.
Yeah, I would say to get to where you've never been, you've got to do things you've never done.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I love about architects is they truly are some of the most open-minded people that I've had the opportunity of working with in my career. And by bringing forward that open-mindedness, you're not closing yourself off to new ideas, to new opportunities. So go at everything, I believe, with an open mind. And I think architects are extremely good at doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's two great pieces of advice. I appreciate both of you for those. And there you have it. Monte Chapin and Mark Arnold of Graphisoft, and partners in the EntreArchitect community, the community and the community annual meeting in Austin, Texas, November
I'll,
1st through 3rd.
I'll be
Um,
packing. I'll be packing before 3 a.m., but I can't guarantee it's going to be. But I look forward to seeing everybody there.
yeah, excellent. Everybody
Hopefully
get
I
there.
can join the second one, the
Yeah.
second email.
Yep, that's fine. We'll welcome you then.
Thank you.
It gets started with the opening reception tomorrow evening down in Austin, November 1st through 3rd. It's going to be a great time. Again, if you're an architect that wants to learn to build a business that allows you to practice in your own way, or maybe you're the employee of a firm and you want to take some of this stuff back to your firm, or you might even aspire to open your own practice to do it your own way. If you haven't already, go over to smallfirmconference.com for more information about the conference. There you find all of the speakers, their profiles, what they're going to talk about, all of our partners, sponsors there, the venue, the schedule, all of it is there at smallfirmconference.com. Again, it's the first ever live conference. It's dedicated just to you, just to small firm entrepreneur architects. So check it out. I promise that you won't be disappointed. We have great partners like Monte and Mark here and Graphisoft. And if you want to know more about Graphisoft, if you want to connect with them between now and 24 hours from now, the URL is down in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, graphisoft.com/us/EntreArchitect. So go there, and you're going to have lots of places to get information and to connect and things like that. Again, Mark's going to be in Austin tomorrow. I'm going to be in Austin tomorrow. Next year, Monty's going to be in Austin with us, and we're going to go eat a lot of
Absolutely.
barbecue. We're going to have a good time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this whole thing is going to be great. Again, it's the first ever live conference for architects like you. So join us here, and I've got to say thank you, big thank you to both you, Monty, and Mark, and the whole team at Graphisoft for all of this, for your partnership with EntreArchitect. at the community annual meeting and beyond. Without you, none of this would be a reality, and we wouldn't be having this conversation today. So thank you both for this, and for your whole teams for this. And I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It's always a pleasure to talk.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. And to all of you out there, please be well, stay safe, keep those around you safe and well. Take a little bit of time to breathe, relax, find a way to rejuvenate. We do this all the time, at least once a day. So you got to pace yourself. Thanks for going along this journey, and we'll see you tomorrow in Austin. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good
See
trip.
ya.
Safe travels.